Alright, so we're going to be going into learning about pseudocoding and in the process of creating a program. The first question is, what is pseudocode? And pseudocode is pretty much a way of creating the structure or outline of a program. And it's not necessarily code ready. It's more of a rough draft or an outline. So there's 5 things that I like to go through when writing a pseudocode. The first one is what problem you are trying to solve. Number 2, break down the problem into steps. Number 3, writing out the pseudocode. Number 4, translating the pseudocode into actual code. And number 5, testing. So as an example, let's say we want to write a program that adds 2 numbers together. So let's see, write a program that adds 2 numbers together. And that is our problem. We have to find a solution for that. So it'd be the same thing if you were with a client and they had a problem and you wanted to solve that problem for them. You would that's pretty much basically what you're trying to do, is trying to solve the issue. The second step, you want to break down the problem into tinier steps, more of like an outline format. So let's see. So we're trying to get 2 numbers to be added together. The first thing I would do is to get input. Input from the user for the first number, right? Since there's 2 numbers to add together. The second one would be to get input from the user for the second number. I don't know why it's adding the S, but it's fine. And then what do we want to do here? From our problem up here, write a program that adds 2 numbers together. So the third one would be add the 2 numbers together. And then at the end, what do we want our program to do? We want it to display the sum of the numbers, or the total of the numbers. So we broke down the problem into smaller steps. And then now we'll go into writing. The third step would be to write out the pseudocode. So the pseudocode, it doesn't have to be in any format. It's just whatever would be easier for you to follow, or if you were on a team or using a specific program, I would use that syntax. But it's to make sure that you know what steps you need to follow in order to start writing the program. So from our step 1, the problem, step 2, breaking down the problem, we can see here, we'll write out our pseudocode. Pseudocode could be in anything. So let's do display, enter your first number, and then we want the first number from the user input to be in a variable called number1. Then we'll do display, enter the second number, enter your second number, and the second number from the user input to be in a variable called number2. And also the variable, you can name it anything, so it really doesn't matter what you name it, because you're going to be coding, and as long as you do your pseudocode, you can follow your pseudocode once you're actually translating it to a code. And then what do we want to do? So this was A, B, and then C. We'll add the two numbers together. So we'll do add variable number1 here and variable number and number2, which is down here, together, and put it in a variable called total. And you can name that variable whatever you want again. Then the last thing you want to do is to display the sum of or total number1 and number2 is total. So what this will do is we're pretty much wanting to display the sum of, then the number, and the other number, then showing the total. So these are all variables. So that's pretty much writing the pseudocode. Step 1, 2, and 3. Then number 4, you want to translate it into actual code. Alright, I'm not going to go into translating into code. Just wanted to show you how to do the pseudocode. But I did have the code written out already for this problem. As long as you got your examp running and the Apache one, what I would do first is go to C drive, go back to your examp folder, the HT docs, and create a folder here. I just created a test folder. If you're going to do your work, you can do the same thing, create a test folder or some type of folder in here, double click it, and just name all of your, and create new folders for each chapters or whatnot, but that's up to you. That just keeps me organized. As far as writing the PHP, this is the one I did. I saved it as a .php. I'll show you how to save it after you write it. Before that, I want to show you what a basic HTML structure looks like if you don't know. I'll have have to open it with Notepad. A basic HTML file will look like this. You'll have the dog HTML, HTML head, title of the web page, and then you can have metadata and all that in here for search engines, but just keep it simple for now. You got your body, and your content goes inside the body. You can do that if you want. I will post a template for this if you need a template. But the code is right here. The first portion is the HTML portion in a format. And if you look at our pseudocode, we're going to enter in the numbers, or ask the user to input in the numbers, and this is what I have. The variables is right here, 1, 2, and then the PHP portion, that's where all the calculation comes into. Variable 1, and then this is the number that it gets from here, wherever the user inputs. Number 2 variable, the same thing, whatever the user inputs, and then the total function, adding the num1 and 2 input together. Then echo for PHP will display this information here. So in order to save it into PHP format, you can do file save as. You can see I already saved it. You can go down to save type PHP, or what I like to do is go and select all type. I'll write in the name, and then at the end just add .php. That will save it as a PHP file. Since I already have it saved, I'm not going to do that. As long as you again got that example running, you can go back here, go to localhost /test was my folder. And if you do that, you'll see everything that's in my test folder, which corresponds everything in here from the exam folder from your local C drive test. And to test it out, which is on our 5th step, last step, testing the code, you can click on your PHP you created and just enter a random number. That this was the first input that we were talking about, variable number 1, and then this variable number 2. Enter in 2, 3, click add, and then you'll see the sum, the display output, the echo. The sum of 2 and 3 is 5. So now we know that our program works. And if you have any questions, just let me know, and I will be able to help you out. But I'm not going to go too into depth in the PHP creating this portion yet. It'll be discussed later on in the chapters.